All right, happy Friday to Knicks Nation. Here we go. Another edition of Knicks Fan TV Live, CP the Fanchise in the building. And you know, we are quickly transitioning from the dog days of the summer into real basketball, man. Just a couple of weeks away from the opening of the preseason. Training camp is about to get started. So on today's show, we are going to talk state of the Knicks with longtime NBA columnist, NBA insider. You can catch him on The Ringer. And one of my coworkers as we work on Sports Business Classroom in the summer, our guy Howard Beck is in the building. As I said, we're going to talk state of the Knicks. We'll talk Carmelo induction ceremony, and we got to touch on this Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer, under the table alleged deal that's going on here. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Definitely want to salute our longtime Fanchise channel members in the chat, and hope everybody is having a great weekend. Okay. All right, Howard, how you doing? Happy Friday, man.
Happy Friday, CP. Great to see you again. We had a blast out in Vegas, teaching the students, trying to bring up the next generation. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. It's a humbling experience to be out there working alongside you guys. This year was year 2 for me, and I just love it, man. What we've been able to kind of turn this program into, the impact on the students. It's like we keep leveling up every year. It's a lot of work. It's hard work, but it's very rewarding, man, as you know.
It's one of my best weeks of the year. And I'm saying this as somebody who has, in the past, kind of dreaded going to Summer League at times. Usually because after a long season of travel, especially in my beat writing days, I didn't want to have to get on another plane a couple weeks after the finals and do it again. I'm not a big Vegas guy, but Sports Business Classroom is such a blast to teach alongside you, Jay Adonde, Katie Heindel, our whole crew. We had Mike Fratello with us this year. And it's so rewarding. The students are great. We have a blast. And it's actually made Vegas something I look forward to, which I never thought I'd say.
No question. And one of the things that was amazing, as you mentioned, we added the czar, Mike Fratello, to the program. And, coming up watching basketball, he was one of the guys, man. He was one of the staples alongside Marv. And so I got a kick out of just one of those random moments with the three of us there. And all of a sudden, he just breaks out into storytelling about the time when, Bill Russell and him were working on the broadcast. And it was Bill Russell's first broadcast. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, he has an incredible well of stories, not all of which are meant for public consumption.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but man, and he's a great storyteller besides, right? Like Fratello has seen it all, done it all, worked with like absolute legends at every level in broadcast and as a coach. And he just has a great way of telling those stories too. So hope we have him back with us next year.
No question. As we segue to these Knicks, a team that you're very familiar with, you were on the Knicks beat many moons ago, and it's so interesting because over the course of these past couple of decades, and the way that they've kind of traversed the national media landscape based on different storylines, whether it's the acquisitions, the Carmelo years, Amari, Linsanity. Now you have this team that is now under pressure as a legitimate contender now, who's built a team. I think you have to give Leon Rose and those guys a lot of credit in terms of how they built this thing and not skip steps. So now we have this team who's legitimately in the top 4 of the league with major championship aspirations. So what do you think about that?
This is I think probably the first time, you tell me if I'm missing something here, because even the 54-win season with Carmelo, and we'll talk about Carmelo later, they weren't favored to go anywhere that year, really. And even if they'd beaten the Pacers, I don't think anybody thought, I mean, Knicks fans obviously thought they'd beat the Heat. I didn't think they'd beat the Heat. I don't think most people thought. This season is their best chance at the finals by far, I think, in 25 years. I don't think that's a stretch. I think this is their best chance since 99, which, by the way, when they made it as an 8th seed during a shortened lockout season. So even that season, I don't think they went in. I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember if they went in as favorites or not. I would guess not, given where they ended up. So the expectations are sky high. the pressure's for sure sky high, and even higher if you weigh in the fact that they fired Tom Thibodeau, brought in Mike Brown. So that's pressure on Mike Brown, but it's also pressure on the front office. Like, you made a major change here. The roster is 90-something% the same. I think they strengthened the bench, but there's a ton of pressure here, and also heightened by the fact that the Celtics are out of the mix for the time being because of Tatum's blown Achilles. The Pacers, who of course made the finals, won the East, out of the mix because of Halliburton's blown Achilles. It's really the Knicks and Cleveland in that top tier. And if people want to make an argument for Orlando or, I don't know, Milwaukee or a healthy Philly team or, who am I missing? The Hawks. Mm-hmm. I mean, other teams are going to put themselves in the conversation. Every season has a way of surprising us with teams that break through, teams that disappoint. It won't be according to what we think right now on September 5th, CP. But the one thing that is absolute, the Knicks and Cavs are the two favorites in the East, and the Knicks should be expecting to go to the finals. Their fans should be expecting it. The franchise should be expecting it, and probably anything short of that is going to be considered a major disappointment. And then it's just about the details, right? Did you lose in Game 7 of the conference finals, right, or did you get swept in the conference? You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, there's a way you can not make the finals and still have it feel like a great season. But I get the sense that it's kind of finals or bust at this stage, and should be.
Did you, when you were covering the team and you were on the beat, did you feel, yes, they brought in Amari, they brought in Carmelo, but did you feel that same pressure during those years of covering the team?
I don't know that the pressure was there because there were always some other great teams around, even from the moment. So when Amari signs up, which was, by the way, one of my all-time favorite moments on the beat, Amari agrees to terms with them, pulls on the Knicks hat, and says, "The Knicks are back, baby." And that was a really, really important moment, and a really like this city, the way it reacted to that moment, like, was Amari as big and as important ultimately as Carmelo became? No. Did it have the same kind of... It's hard to describe the impact to people who maybe weren't alive or were younger then. Yes. But I'll just say this, because I got here in 2004, which was the early part of the Marbury era, the Isaiah era. There are a lot of really rough seasons and a lot of dysfunction and a lot of controversy. And Amari pulling on that hat and saying the Knicks are back, baby, choosing the Knicks, and he was, an all-NBA big at that time, and it had these great seasons with the Suns. Charismatic, really fun to watch, explosive as hell. Symbolically, as well as practically, that was such a huge moment because it meant the Knicks, if not back in terms of like being a contender, were at least back to being respectable, being a place that guys wanted to choose. And that paved the way then, of course, for Carmelo and Tyson Chandler and others to want to be in New York. And so it was a moment. It was a huge moment. In terms of the pressure, though, even after they got Carmelo and they had like their kind of pseudo big three once they got Tyson Chandler, and I say pseudo big three because I don't think it was ever a very functional big three, and it was certainly not at the level of LeBron and Wade and Bosh, who were the standard for what a big three should be at that time, right after the Pierce, Garnett, Ray Allen thing. So I think expectations were really high based on star power, marquee names, but I don't know that anybody really thought in any of those years, and it didn't last long either, right? Because Amari's knees give way. But I don't think anybody really thought like they were favorites. Again, I'd have to go back. Were the odds with them back then? I don't think so. I think this version of the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Bridges, Anunoby, the rest, this is the version that is the best built that they've had in forever, and certainly the most realistic to make the finals. Much more so, I think, than those Knicks teams with Amari and Carmelo, because there were some flaws there, even just with those two guys as your two pillars.
With the coaching addition of Mike Brown, just covering it from the time that they made the hire through now, I feel like the reaction, especially from the fan base, has been pretty mixed. This is not someone coming in with a ring from a head coaching standpoint. This isn't a Spoelstra or Steve Kerr, and not even, a Mike Malone, who, Knicks didn't want to bring in for an interview, but that's neither here nor there. So with Brown, what would you say to the skeptic fan that would give them optimism that Brown can take them where Thibs couldn't take them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Unfortunately for Mike Brown, that is the only prism that anybody's going to see this through, right? Like, you're replacing a guy who, helped the Knicks. And look, there's a lot of things that went into the Knicks revival of this era, right? Smart front office decision making, really savvy trades. The Brunson signing itself, obviously, as the centerpiece of all of this. Thibs' coaching is a huge part of this, right? Back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time in basically a quarter century. So when you replace the guy who accomplished all that, presided over all that, and gets some percentage of credit for all of that, there's only one place to go. You have to go further than Thibs did. And that means conference finals. That means probably finals. I don't like the idea of like saying, well, is he a better coach than Thibs? Like sometimes in the NBA, it's just the right fit at the right time, the right voice at the right time, the right philosophy at the right time. Sometimes you just need a change. I'm not justifying the change. I think there's a strong case to be made for it that the Knicks made. There's a strong case against it.
Sure.
I have no strong feeling myself about what they could have, should have, whatever done. Did they hire a great coach in Mike Brown? Yes. I think Mike Brown has some similarities with Thibs in kind of an old school style, definitely a grinder, definitely high expectations of his team, especially defensively. But there's a key difference here just in terms of personality, and sometimes that's what matters. Mike Brown is a much more personable individual. That's not a knock on Thibs. This is just a basic observation, having been around the league a long time, having been around Thibs, having been around Mike Brown in various places, knowing players, knowing agents, knowing front office people. Mike Brown's Mike Brown is more personable. Maybe that pays dividends. Maybe the connections with players are a little stronger. Maybe his connections with the front office, which with Thibs in the front office, and like, this is not unique to Thibs. A lot of coaches in front offices clash at times over personnel decisions or rotation decisions. But I think Mike Brown is going to have a chance to have a stronger relationship in both directions, managing up and managing down. I also think that, especially after all of his time with the Warriors and the dynamic offense that they have, I don't expect, the Knicks to suddenly look like the Warriors in terms of the ball and player movement and all the off-ball stuff. But I do think that Mike Brown is going to, as he did with Sacramento, inject some more variety, some more dynamism into the offense. I think there's definitely a case to be made that they need to be a little less Brunson-reliant. I think there's definitely a case to be made that you can leverage a lot of what Mikal Bridges or Karl-Anthony Towns can do with the ball in their hands to mix it up a little bit, keep the defense that much more off balance, and preserve Jalen Brunson, because it's a long season and that dude takes a pounding, and he's got a obviously really high usage rate. His time of possession that people have I don't have the charts in front of me, but is high. Like, best to not overdo it with him, especially in the regular season.
Yes.
And I think Mike Brown might be more open to kind of addressing those concerns in a way that Thibs maybe was not.
Well, that's the biggest question for me with this team entering into the season, and curious as to what you think, because you cover the finals, you cover the Pacers and Carlisle and their breakneck offense and the variety, the versatility, the depth that we saw with that unit. That's what I'm wondering in terms of the Knicks and Brown and them taking that next level is, can he turn them into a more versatile team where it's not just the over-reliance on Brunson, who's brilliant in the clutch. I call him Captain Clutch Player of the Year. That over-reliance, have they shown enough with the roster, with the additions? They added Clarkson, they added Yabusele. Do they feature Bridges a little bit more? Can they get a bit more dynamic offensively where it's not just the over-reliance on Brunson to deliver it for you when you're in a pinch?
I mean, the beauty of having a guy like Jalen Brunson is that, when it comes down to it in crunch time, or, just a broken possession and you have to just manufacture on the fly, improvise, it's great to have a guy like Jalen Brunson who can do that, who can get a shot off from just about anywhere or draw the foul, get to the line. But you don't want to play 48 minutes like that. And I'm exaggerating. Obviously, it's not literally 48 minutes, but you don't want to spend your entire game plan can't be that. I don't expect them to go to the other extreme of like the Pacers, who are like a version of Mike D'Antoni's old 7 seconds or less, where it's like the ball is just pinging around and getting up quick shots. I think you want to try some of that. I think you want to inject a little bit more pace. And the important thing is not even just like pace in terms of how quick you get up the court. It's how quickly guys make decisions with the ball in their hands so that you're not making it easy for the defense to just lock in on any one guy. And that includes Jalen Brunson. I think we will see more dynamism in the offense. I do think Mike Brown will bring that to them. I do think that the addition of somebody like Jordan Clarkson, while maybe not the same Jordan Clarkson that we saw in LA or Cleveland, by the way, like statistically he's not, and he's a few years older, but like he's not that old. And everybody looks worse when they're with a really bad team that has no direction.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't want to judge Jordan Clarkson too harshly through the prism of the Utah Jazz. I think he's a great pickup. I think, Michael Pena and I did a podcast recently on the NBA Ringer show talking about kind of like way too early picks for various postseason awards, and we ruled out all the people who were the favorites. So we were trying to go deeper on the chart there. And I picked Jordan Clarkson for Sixth Man of the Year. I think that's on the table. I think that's a possibility. And I think that if Jordan Clarkson does recapture some of what he was in his prime years in Cleveland, especially alongside LeBron, he's got a chance to take some of that burden off of Brunson. They can play together. He can also obviously run the offense in Brunson's during the times that he's resting. Clarkson can get a shot off from just about anywhere. He's an instant offense type player, a little bit of a gunner at times, but you hope to rein that in when you're in a context with a lot of other really good players, right? Again, when you're on a Jazz team with nobody who can really score except for Markkanen, it's gonna bring out your worst tendencies. So I think he's a great pickup, and I think his addition is part of why I expect the offense to be a little bit more diverse and a little less Brunson centric. But it's also, again, Karl Anthony Towns can do a lot with the ball in his hands. You can also do a lot more two-man game with Brunson and Towns than I think they did last season. Yeah. We've seen Mikal Bridges, especially when Brunson was out, that Bridges can do some things with the ball in his hands and can initiate. I expect we will see all of that come into play.
Any familiarity with the two top assistants that they brought in? They brought in Chris Jent, former assistant with the Charlotte Hornets, also worked with Mike Brown with the Cavs and for the offensive side, and then Brendan O'Connor, formerly with the Clippers on the defensive side. Any familiarity with those guys? Were they
Brendan O'Connor, formerly with the Knicks long ago, too, in my early years. So I don't know Chris Jent. I know Brendan a little bit. It's been a while. We haven't crossed paths in a bit. But, yeah, I mean, two absolute, just well-respected, well-seasoned, seen it all, done it all assistant coaches. I like him. I like Brendan a lot from the times that I've spent around him in the past. Chris Jent I don't know personally, but has a great rep. So I think Mike Brown's built out a nice staff.
There we go. Once again, we are talking to Howard Beck. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Happy Friday to Knicks Nation. I want to shout out, we got a $20 super chat from a Fanchise channel member, Big Nick. He says, shout out after the greatest platform for Knicks Network. Much respect, CP. Big Nick, we appreciate you, man. Absolutely. Now, they do have one more roster spot to fill from a veteran standpoint. They can fill the rookie exception with a first-year player. Now, there's a number of names bandied about. Ben Simmons, does he want to play basketball or not? Stephen Bondi wrote in his latest column that Simmons might be pending retirement. There's a Malcolm Brogdon prospect. One player that's been quiet and really seems like the market overall has bottomed out on him is Russell Westbrook. What do you think about Brody and potentially not even having a roster spot to see in the NBA, man?
Wow. I mean, those are some significant names to be unsigned on September 5th, right? And look, I mean, Ben Simmons, after the last couple of years, you could see why, the market possibly has dried up. It's funny because it changes so quickly in this league, right? You don't have to go that far back on his basketball reference page to see a very functional, very vital Ben Simmons. But whether it's the back stuff that he's gone through, the health stuff, whether it's just the mental block, whatever it may be, he's gone through some things, and he's just not the same player that he was when he was considered to be, another unicorn coming into the league with the Sixers. It won't surprise me if Ben Simmons is just out of the league. Malcolm Brogdon, a lot of injury issues over the years, but, Sixth Man of the Year not so long ago, and, a really great guy to have, locker room guy and off your bench. I expect Brogdon will be somewhere. Westbrook is the one I'm just not sure of, CP. I think it says something that the Nuggets did not bring him back, right? Like, he had some really important moments for them. He also had some really rough moments for them. And there were the reports about him grating on teammates and coaches at times. Not a surprise, not unusual, not new. That has happened in various places. Russ is a lot. He takes up a lot of oxygen. And so every team that's considering him is never just considering just all the obvious pluses, right? The intensity, the fire, the scoring, the rebounding, the assists, like all of it. Like he is still a really impactful player, but there's some other stuff that comes with it. And, you know, like eventually you have to grapple with reality in this league. And if you look at a guy with his resume, and yes, some of this is just aging and some losing a step, however you want to frame it. But when a guy's been with, I've lost count, 5 teams in 6 years or whatever it's been, it usually tells you something. But I'll still be surprised if he's not on somebody's roster by the time training camp's open. Who among those guys is the best fit for the Knicks? There's a part of me that still likes the outline of what Ben Simmons could be.
Right.
In that he can defend 5 positions. He can run your offense at times. I don't know how many minutes per game you want him on the court. There is the problem of him obviously not being a threat to shoot or even to score. He doesn't even drive really. But there's an outline there of somebody who could be useful. And I'm curious to see whether the Knicks or somebody else rolls the dice on him. Brogdon is the one who I think would make the most sense for the Knicks of that group, because you can never have enough insurance behind Brunson or just other ball handlers, other guys off the bench who can do something. Obviously you can make a case they need insurance, more insurance behind Mitchell Robinson too, given his injury history. Yabusele is a nice pickup, but he's obviously undersized as a big.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so continuing on the Knicks front, this weekend we have a big Hall of Fame weekend for one Carmelo Anthony, one of my favorite players and favorite Knicks. He's right here on the wall behind me in my studio. But, a very polarizing superstar, and one of the most polarizing, I think, in this past era of stars, man. What did you make of covering Melo in your time?
Yeah, so I was, covering the Knicks when the trade happened, and then for another couple of years after that, I left the beat and the Times in 2013. So actually right after that 54-win season was when I jumped to Bleacher Report and became more of a national writer and all that. But obviously, I live here. I've spent a lot of time at the Garden. But I wasn't around Carmelo every day for the entirety of his Knicks tenure. I'll tell you, from a media standpoint, great dude. Carmelo was always available, always, good times and bad. He was never ducking the media.
Yeah.
He had great relationships with everybody, even when things got tense, and it's the Knicks, things always get tense at times. And great sense of humor, just had an ability to let things roll off his back. I always appreciated that part of him too. And as a player, polarizing. It's interesting. When he first got to New York, he was the latest savior, right? Everybody's a savior when they come to New York, right?
Yeah,
Larry Brown was a savior. Marbury's a savior. Isaiah was a savior. Mari's a savior. Carmelo. Someone's always coming in to have to be the savior. And it's not just here. That happens in a lot of markets, but it's bigger here. It's New York. And certainly celebrated. But I think over time, and as, especially after the 54-win season, when they couldn't replicate that and the roster started to degrade, and, there was a certain part of the fan base that I think started to sour on Carmelo because all of the things that were, criticisms of him early on that, in the near term you accept because it's we're just happy to have him. We're just happy to have one of the top 10 players or whatever in the NBA. And there's so much that comes with it, and he brought a lot of wins and a lot of excitement. But then you start to see the warts, right? Oh, man, really could move the ball a little bit more. Oh, man, he really, really does, take up a lot of the possession sometimes, and the ball stopping is problematic. And, he's not really much of a defender. And I think it's split at a certain point. I don't have the Gallup poll numbers, CP, to back this up. You tell me. You are immersed in Knicks fandom.
Yeah.
It felt to me at a certain point like there was a generational divide where younger fans were the most loyal Carmelo, backers, right? They were with him through thick and thin. But when we started hearing boos in the last couple of seasons that he was here, I feel like it was like, especially like the older generation, especially the ones who came up on the the early 70s Knicks, who were all about ball movement. I think there was a little bit of that tension there, and I do think it was a little bit of a generational split. But you would probably know better than I would.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and it's that stark contrast even within the fan base where it's like, oh, he's a ball stopper, no defense, and he didn't move the ball. I remember that there were times during pregame when the starting five used to have ball movement drills to pass the ball around the perimeter just to make sure that Melo was passing. So it's very interesting, man, because it's the same guy that I saw, run through the NCAA tournament in college. And that was really one of the first players just in my time coming up in basketball where I was like, this guy's going to dominate on every level. There's just no denying it.
Yeah. I reposted my story from 2016 on Blue Sky this morning. I'm not really on the other side anymore, as you know, but on Blue Sky, I reposted my story called The Brotherhood, which was about the Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James friendship/rivalry, right? Like they're always being judged against each other. And at a certain point, that ledger became so lopsided in LeBron's favor. But one of the things I note in that story is that at the time of the 2003 draft, there was an actual debate. Yes. Not a debate about who was going to be picked number one. LeBron was the absolute consensus number one. But there was a kind of subtext debate about who's going to have the better pro career. And Carmelo came in as the more polished scorer and the guy who had won, just led Syracuse to the national championship as a freshman and just seemed NBA ready from day one. And LeBron, while obviously a dominant scorer in high school and would become one in the NBA, was, the saying at the time was that he was more Magic than Michael. So there were people who actually said, including some major names out there, I don't need to repeat it now, but like who said Carmelo is the better player. Carmelo will have the better NBA career. It was a real thing for a while. And so that was tough for him too, because he had to be judged through that prism. And then Wade wins titles, and Wade wins a title with, first with Shaq, then he wins titles with LeBron. Bosh is in that draft class and he wins titles with those guys. And Carmelo, for a variety of reasons in his draft class, this is one of the best draft classes of all time, he doesn't have a lot of the accolades that his friends / rivals / draft classmates had. But the Hall of Fame resume, CP, is unimpeachable. Yeah. Remember, everybody, Hall of Fame is not an NBA Hall of Fame. It's a basketball Hall of Fame, and it's everything. So the national championship as a freshman matters. The 3 golds and a bronze in the Olympics all matter greatly. Even on the NBA side, 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA. He was never first-team All-NBA, which is interesting.
That is
6
interesting.
Times, but yeah, it was 4 third teams and 2 second teams. He's 10th all-time in scoring, in points. But even there, like if you want to look to see what distinguishes him and why he's a polarizing player, you look at where he ranks all-time in scoring, and then you start looking around him and you go like, wow, he only won 3 playoff series in his career. And the guys, all the other guys in the top 10, the top 15, the top 20, pretty much all of them have much more of a postseason resume than he did, just in terms of playoff success. Never made the finals, as we know, only won conference finals, never won MVP. Like there's, and I only was seriously in the MVP conversation maybe once or twice. But a lot of Hall of Famers have complicated or maybe incomplete resumes, right? It's not Hall of Perfection.
Yeah, that's
fair. And his NBA component is just one component. And the international play matters greatly. The college, the 1 year in college, going to the national championship and winning that and being, the reason for that championship, all of that matters too. I think there's some regrettable moments in Carmelo's career just in terms of the way he managed his own career, right? Like there are ways he could have done this that maybe would have put him in a better position to go further in the playoffs or to contend for titles. We don't necessarily have to go down all those roads, but we can. But I do think that, and there were times in his career when he reflected on that and said the same. But it's to quote one of Carmelo's favorite phrases back from during his Knicks time, it is what it is. Like this, he made the choices he made. He had an incredible career. It didn't land in all of the places that you hope when you first arrive in the NBA as a star of his caliber. But again, a lot of guys who are all-time greats, have some of those same absences on their resume.
Yeah. Well, one thing I definitely agree with you with, especially watching that team from the fan seats, he always held himself accountable. Never ran
sure.
from the media. Always put himself in front of in front of the bullets there for the team during some really tumultuous times. That was something that I always gave him credit for, because, not to knock on Randall and things of that nature. Randall certainly had his, issues and challenges with dealing with the media and dealing with the adversity, but Carmelo really never did. But as you mentioned, with the LeBron factor, I thought that was one of the things that really hurt Carmelo, was kind of living up to that, or that measuring stick, where LeBron is out there, he's Mr. Do Everything, he's making his team better, he's taking that Cleveland team to the finals that had no business being in the finals, where Carmelo's challenges was, do you make your team better? Are you just a ball-stopping, scoring machine? And your peers will put you up there in that pantheon, while the fans will say, I'm not really sure if this guy's such a winning player. And even the trade to the Knicks, I was trying to think before you came on here, like, is there an NBA player where the trade is made and both sides are unhappy about it? Both fan bases are unhappy about it,
Yeah. There's a rule of thumb in the NBA, right? Who won the trade? Whoever got the best player in the trade, right? Like, the Knicks win the trade if you got the best player. But I've made a distinction over the years with this trade, with the Anthony Davis trade to the Lakers too, where you can win the trade and lose the negotiation. And I used that phrasing about the Anthony Davis trade at the time. I don't think I ever used it about the Carmelo trade, but I would put it in the same framework, right? You won the trade because you got the best player. And he forced his way, right? He only wanted to play for the Knicks. There was the possibility of the Nets, but, he really wanted the Knicks. Everybody knows that. And because of that, the Knicks should have had all the leverage in the world. But as we know, the owner kind of took over those negotiations, and they gave up a lot. And when people say, like, oh, who cares if they gave up Timofey Mozgov? It's a closed system in the NBA, right? You only have X number of cap dollars to allocate, X number of picks to use in deals, even role players like a Mozgov. When you put everything you've got, and for all intents and purposes, it was everything they had, when you put it all into one trade, now when Chris Paul's trying to force his way out of New Orleans later that same year, you don't have any of the mechanisms to go and get him. And there was, if you remember, the infamous or famous toast at somebody's wedding that summer.
Yeah, Chris Paul.
At Chris Paul's wedding. Yeah. Where it was going to be about, like, Chris Paul joining the Knicks and playing with Carmelo. Yeah. They didn't have the assets anymore. They spent them all. And, this rubbed a lot of Knicks fans wrong at the time, but I'll say it again. Carmelo could have waited. And the reason he didn't wait was because he was trying to get what at that time was called an extend and trade. Those are now outlawed because in part of that deal. But he wanted an extend and trade where he got the money on his new contract locked in as part of the trade to the Knicks, because he didn't want to take a chance that after what we knew was going to be a lockout that year, that the new CBA might restrict his earnings somewhat. So he wanted it done immediately. There was an urgency on his part. And if he had waited for free agency, he could have joined the Knicks as a free agent. They probably would have had to renounce, like, Wilson Chandler and somebody else, but they could have gotten him without giving up Gallinari and Felton and picks and, all this stuff. And he could have joined a team that had more assets then to spend on the next set of reinforcements. So it did hem them in. It did limit their optionality, their ability to make other deals, because of the way that he chose to come to New York. And that's his prerogative, by the way. Like, you can manage your career any way you want. If you want to prioritize the money, you can, and your contract, you can. Like, that's not for me to say, but it is for me to say that there were consequences for making the decision that way, and there were. And Carmelo, again, he even had said that himself once. It might have even been like an MSG Network's interview or something that he did midway through, where he said, like, obviously we had limited resources because of me forcing the trade, blah, blah, blah. But, that's all just part of the story now. And they did have difficulty building around him. Amari's knees going was part of the problem too. But then again, their best season with Carmelo was the year that Amari was mostly not playing, and Carmelo was forced to play the 4, another thing that he didn't want to do.
That's right.
But was arguably his best position at that time in the NBA. Yeah. So, again, there's always like these little tension points during his Knicks career.
Sure, and that was the year when you mentioned the MVP vote. He finished 3rd that year in the MVP voting. He was absolutely phenomenal. So, but yeah, hats off to him on a Hall of Fame career.
Speaking of hats off, are all of his hats going to the hall with him?
Well,
is there a wing for all of Carmelo's hats?
Yeah,
we need an entire display just for that.
Well, I guess most importantly, according to our guy Mark Spears with Anscape, seems like the Nuggets are going to start extending the olive branch. I think they're going to do some honoring of Carmelo this season, and maybe he gets his number retired after they get over the stench of the trade. So
I mean, it's overdue. It's been long enough. Everybody has to put all that stuff in the past at some point. The Magic did it with Shaq, and it's you get over it. Some Vince and the Raptors. It's time.
Yeah. Last one before I get you out of here, man. I mean, we got to talk about this bombshell from Pablo Torre and Kawhi Leonard. Now revealed $48 million in total compensation from this company, Aspiration, who specializes in corporate responsibility, environmental impact, so on and so forth. $28 million in cash for an endorsement deal that Kawhi Leonard never did, along with a $20 million in stock options. It was later revealed that Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner, invested $50 million into that company when they were in their raise phase of their operations. And now, as the company's gone bankrupt, it was identified that this company cut the check to Kawhi Leonard, alleging that they circumvented a cap. What was your reaction to it?
I mean, first of all, incredible work by Pablo Torre. Just amazing. 7-month investigation, I think he said it was.
Wow.
If you watch the version of his show, the YouTube version, the stack, CP, of just papers on the table was just like, I don't know how many. Speaking of trees, like they need to plant a few just to replace the ones that died for the sake of having to print out all those documents. Incredible investigative work. Not possible without the business going under, by the way. Like, if not for the bankruptcy filing, this stuff's not available, and we never know. I will tell you this. Based on all the conversations I've had over the last couple of days with people around the league, I know people are cynical. I know people say, the cap circumvention happens all the time. People getting money under the table or from sponsors that the team arranges. Not like this, folks. 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there, whatever. Hey, we'll hook you up with our local grocery chain, and they'll give you $500,000 to be in some of their commercials and maybe do a few tweets and appearances. That kind of stuff, yeah. But the scale of this, the sheer amount of money involved, the $7 million a year over, that was the $28 million total over 4 years. The stock options part of it, which got reported then by Boston, I think it was Boston Business Journal. I can't remember the exact name of it, but Boston Sports Journal.
Yeah, John Corrales. Yep.
So that stuff's unprecedented. That does not happen. Believe whatever you want about cap circumvention, about the way the league really operates, about things that teams do that are maybe outside the lines a little bit. Not at this level, not at this scale, and not with clauses, which again were in this filing that Pablo Torre unearthed, that say Kawhi Leonard doesn't have to actually do anything if he doesn't want to.
That's crazy.
That's why they called it a no-show arrangement. He didn't have to show up for anything. He didn't have to tweet anything. He could just get the money for free. And then there's another clause that says if he leaves the Clippers, the contract is null and void with this company. Like, all of that points to cap circumvention, right? Now, Steve Ballmer went on ESPN last night with my old pal Ramona Shelburne. And he's done, or he did a very compelling job of denying any wrongdoing and any knowledge of Kawhi Leonard's arrangement with that company, Aspiration. But man, it all looks really damning, CP.
Looks bad.
I'm one to always say, let's see where the investigation goes. The NBA is obviously investigating. The Board of Governors is, by the way, by coincidence, because this is when they always meet. They always meet in early September. They're meeting here in New York next week. Adam Silver will be talking to us because he always has a press conference afterward. This will be 99% of the press conference, I'm sure. So I'm one who tries to reserve judgment. But, man, the report is really damning. The documents are really damning. It's hard to believe that this was not something arranged for the express purpose of circumventing the cap. And Pablo even has former employees of that company, telling him it was intended specifically for cap circumvention. So this is about as big of a scandal as you can get outside of the category of, Donald Sterling saying a bunch of racist crap on a recording, or Robert Sarver doing racist and sexist stuff, or like, that stuff's in its own category. But in terms of like rule breaking in the NBA, I mean, this is pretty big. We haven't seen anything of this magnitude probably since the Minnesota Timberwolves Joe Smith case way back in the early 2000s, which people can look up. But the consequences for that one were pretty steep. David Stern docked them 5 first-round picks. A couple were given back later, but he suspended the owner, Glenn Taylor, for a year. I think he suspended Kevin McHale, who was GM at the time, for a year. Joe Smith's contract was voided. But that one had a signed piece of paper between the team and Joe Smith's representation, with Joe Smith saying, like, we're going to pay you X amount when we can. We're signing you for this amount now, but we're going to get you this amount later. That was like clear cap circumvention. It was on paper. All the paperwork we've seen so far via Pablo Torre for this story points in a direction, but as far as we know as of yet, there is nothing that specifically says if this, then this, right? Like, we don't have that smoking gun, but I don't know if the NBA needs it to that level of specificity. I think they can go on circumstantial evidence, and the circumstantial evidence is pretty compelling here.
Yeah, no question. And some of the stuff from Boston Sports Journal, the fact that the deal with Kawhi Leonard was made without bringing in the top executives or even notifying the board. So that was done without involving some of the typical chain of command. They said Ballmer's investment of the $50 million, which kind of, equals the 48 that they gave Kawhi, was done with limited due diligence. So on and so forth. Oh, and then, by the way, the reason why this company goes bankrupt is because the CEO was involved in fraud. So it's kind of tough, man. It's going to be a tough knot for Ballmer to untie. But now Pablo's saying he's coming after us next, man. He said he's got Brunson in his sights. All this, taking less money. Now New Yorkers, Knicks fans are like, oh, man, are they going to come this way? I
mean, at the time that Brunson signed the extension, there was immediate chatter around the league about like, what's, there's got to be something. But that's the way things are, right? We live in a cynical world, and we're in the NBA is certainly a cynical league, and every single team is always looking askew at what the other teams are doing. And when a player of Jalen Brunson's caliber signs for less than he's eligible for, it's going to raise eyebrows, just as Kawhi's did in real time. This is not anybody picking on the Knicks. And the Knicks are a bigger target than some. That's certainly the case. And they became a bigger target too because, look, they were found guilty of tampering to get Jalen Brunson in the first place. Suspicion is not the same thing as fact, though. I try to tell people this all the time. What you believe to be the case, what you suspect to be the case is not, your conviction about it does not prove it to be true. I get why people are suspicious. Here's the thing. If there's anything else going on, if the Knicks did anything to compensate Jalen Brunson in ways outside of that contract, good luck finding that and proving it, folks. Like, the only reason this Kawhi case is in front of the world right now and in front of Adam Silver and his investigators is because there was a bankruptcy filing that put a bunch of stuff in the public record, right? And someone obviously tipped off Pablo and his crew to it. I'm not saying anything happened with the Knicks and Brunson or not. I don't know. With 29 other teams also. But if this kind of stuff were going on, if there's any sort of paper trail, the tough thing is finding it, right? It's not like the NBA's got its own FBI unit out there scouring public records at all times, 365 days a year, to make sure that nobody got an illegal dollar somewhere or a free house for their family, But little things like that probably do go on, right? Like, a car from my buddy who owns the car dealer. Like, there's stuff like that goes on. Really low case or low caliber, low cost stuff. It's not. It's nothing of the scale of Kawhi. If there is anything to the Jalen Brunson Knicks, subplot here, if there's a subplot at all, that would be fascinating. I'm sure that's part of everybody's calculus, all the owners around the league. If anybody else has done anything else, how hard do you want to go after the Clippers in case you've done it? But I'm telling you, CP, from the people I've talked to the last 48 hours, everybody's saying like this is unprecedented. They've never heard of anything like this. And this is from some people who said like, all right, listen, here, I'll tell you a couple things that we've done that were a little outside the lines.
Yeah.
And the examples were like magnitudes below this.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know that I'm overly worried for the Knicks on this one, but who knows? Pablo's pretty good at what he does. So if there's something out there, he'll find it.
Great work by him, and we'll look out for the commissioner's response next week. Anything you have coming down the pipeline?
Nothing immediately. We're in this nice little quiet lull here, calm before the storm. As you pointed out, training camps, media days are around the corner. We'll get the Real Ones podcast fired up and going again before the end of the month. I might pop on another Ringer NBA show between now and then. And then we'll start churning out content again. I always say September's the shortest month of the year. I don't care what the calendar says of how many days. September's like 5 minutes long because it's like we've still got a few weeks of summer left in the off season, and you blink and it's gone, and we're all sitting there at media day going, where'd the summer go?
That's right.
But ready to roll.
That's right, man. We'll always appreciate the time. I'll circle back later on in the season, man, for another touch point. But Howard, always appreciate the time, man. Have a great weekend.
Always a pleasure, CP. Thanks, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the great Howard Beck. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Definitely appreciate Howard for his time. We got another guest on the way, man. We got an action-packed show. This is a double-header show because I got to catch up on content, man. People have been begging me, CP, we need Knicks talk. We need Knicks talk. So, I got you guys, no problem. We got to get it cracking. But shout out to Howard Beck. Pablo says he's coming for Cap next. I said, oh, hang on. But I've never seen anything like it. Like Howard said, man, $50 million that the Claw got under the table from some random company. $50 million for doing absolutely nothing. That's unbelievable. What do you guys think in the chat? Salute to my Fanchise channel members. The Shells, Talento, always in here. Will Latimer, I see you. Bolshajor, always in here. Daniel, how you feeling? NYC B-Ball, Stevie Nicks. Salute to my regulars in here joining us on this beautiful Friday afternoon here in New York. Salute to everybody watching on Facebook as well. Another fantastic edition of Knicks Fan TV Live. Brought to you guys by my friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, man. Shout out to our guys at DraftKings. Hey, NFL Week 1 has started last night on Thursday with the Eagles defeating the Cowboys, and DraftKings Sportsbook is our official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football. It's first touchdown fireworks. Anytime touchdown rushes and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. We got the Giants and Jets coming up this weekend. Giants visiting the Commanders. You got the Steelers coming in town to play the Jets. So some opportunities for you guys to get in on the local action. And for you new customers, if you bet just $5 and you will get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus over $200 off on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So if you guys haven't figured out how you're going to be catching all of these games, here's a deal for you, man. $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And that's, once again, from our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Remember, this is void in Ontario, my friends north of the border. You got to come to the U.S. to get in on the action. The bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. So once you get them, you got to jump in on the deal. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer is for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. And once again, this is a limited offer. Okay, let me bring in my second guest on today's show. And my guy's been doing the damn thing, man, covering New York sports on multiple platforms now. But in particular, you can catch him on ESPN Radio New York. I've been a guest on his show multiple times talking Knicks, man. And he's also a Bleacher Report. But I told him, man, it's only a matter of time before I return the favor. So joining us today is my guy, Ty Butler. Ty, how you feeling, man?
Yo, what's up, bro? How you doing? What's going on?
Hey, man, happy Friday, man. We got Football Friday on the way. I had to get through a little appetizer last night with the Eagles and Cowboys. I was trying to watch with, one eye open. I was trying not to be too interested. Fantasy purposes, I had to be interested. But, I'm looking forward to Big Blue this weekend, man. We're looking forward to it.
Let's start there, though, because if you are a Giant fan, last night was discouraging from this standpoint. If the expectation was that because of the Micah Parsons trade, the Eagles or the Cowboys were going to fall off a cliff, then that expectation was not met, and damn, does that offense look really good. So the Eagles, we know, far and away are the best team in this division. Washington, I think they'll take a step back. They're still a team that went to the championship game last year. Jaden Daniels, he's going to cook. The Cowboys, like the obituaries that have been written on them, might have been too premature. So that is a nasty, nasty division if you're the Giants. And, oh, by the way, you're playing the AFC West and the NFC North this year. So that's three of the toughest divisions in football.
Yeah, no question, man. But do we really need to get hype on the Cowboys, Ty? We say this every year. The offense, and Dak looks fantastic, and the offensive line, and this receiver, that receiver. And then in the end, they turn into the Cowboys, man.
But it's less about being hype about the Cowboys and their ceiling. Like, I'm not predicting they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
All I'm saying is if you're a Giant fan that was expecting, okay, we could make some noise in this division, a lot of that had to do with what we were seeing from the other teams, step back from Washington, the Parsons trade. I saw a Cowboys team last night that looks like we're not gonna lose 2 straight games. And by the way, week 2 they play the Giants. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not getting hype over Dallas. I'm just saying that the Giant fans got to be watching that game like, oh boy, they don't look like they took that too much of a step back.
Yeah. Well, what are you? I'm laughing at a lot of people in the chat because a lot of times you're on radio. A lot of the people in the chat say, "Man, this is the first time I'm seeing what Ty Butler looks like, man." So you got a lot of fans in the chat, man, and it's good to see you making your way out of the radio sphere into the video side of the house, man.
I love it, man. And I appreciate you for bringing me on the show. Real quick, because I know you got some questions you're gonna ask me.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man CP. Been an admirer of your work. And as you mentioned, I brought you on the show a couple times. I'm loving the vibe that you got here. The Knicks fans cooking up a month before the season starts. I appreciate you bringing me on the show. And big up to all the people in the chat, man. Love y'all.
Yeah, for sure, man. You know what? Because I did definitely want to talk some Giants, but, just give me your overall thoughts on the Knicks. We just had Howard Beck on the show, and we were talking about, some of the expectations with this team. What are you thinking in terms of the Knicks this year?
Well, I'm excited, but I'm also, and I'm not a Knicks fan, but, sharing a space with a lot of Knicks fans who, always come into the year hungry. I have a little bit of this thought in my mind. I wonder how they deal with being in a place they've never been in before, and that is being the hunted. Because think about what the conversation about this team was the last couple years. 2 years ago, it was about Boston. Last year was about Boston and all the great teams, their record against the great teams. Could they overtake them? And obviously they beat the Celtics last year, fell to Indiana in the playoffs. But this year, they come in favorites in the Eastern Conference, right? We're talking, Zach Lowe in his podcast the other day said something I thought was interesting. He's like, highest expectations for a Knicks team since the Ewing days, to the point where it's like, they don't get to the finals. That is a massive disappointment. So I'm feeling the energy. I'll be at the games. I'll talk to the fans. But I'm interested to see how this specific team with a brand new head coach deals with the expectations that are at a heightened level, none of which we've seen in a quarter century. But I'm excited, man. Should be a fun year.
You're absolutely right on that, sir. We just had Howard Beck on the show, and he talked about that. I did as well. Everybody's under the gun. From top down, from Dolan to Leon, from making the decision about the coach, to the coach in Mike Brown, to the players. Brunson, Towns, Mikal Bridges now got his extension. Everybody is under the gun, and this is new territory for this team and for this fan base, man. I'm very excited about it.
Brand new territory, and also what Mike Brown is going to bring, right? Like, if we get into, like, the minutia of it, is his offense is different. The Knicks were one of the slowest paced teams last year. He wants to push that tempo, increase the pace. So maybe there is an element of they get out the gate and it doesn't look as good as it's going to be. There are some initial struggles, but I'm excited, man. Yo, there's a different energy when this team is really, really good. There's a different atmosphere. I remember, what's the game? It was the Celtics series, the Saturday game. I think it was game 4 that
4.
It was, yeah, because it was the Tatum,
Trying to think which
Tatum
one.
Injury game.
What was Tatum injury? That one, yeah, 4. That was 4.
It was the Saturday game where, it's like afternoon, city's lit. There's a million things you could do. But I'm coming across watch parties, like that vibrancy, that energy is what I come to appreciate about this fan base. So, figuring this is what we're going to get for an entire season, I'm excited because, like I said, the Knicks are the hunted.
No question about it. Now, as it relates to the Big Blue, the football giants, man, and you've been doing some great work with our guy Jake Asman and a number of guys over there at ESPN Radio who I respect a lot. Shout out to Jake. He's going to be joining us just a little bit later today to talk Jets. From Big Blue, man, everything that you've seen from training camp all the way through the preseason, what are you some of the storylines that you're looking forward to heading into the season?
Well, obviously, the biggest storyline is one that we're hoping we don't get for a while, and that's Jackson Dart, because he was mighty impressive throughout the preseason. The reason why I say we're not hoping to get that for a while is because if we see him at any point the first month and a half, it means this season has gone up in smokes. It is a disaster. So, best thing for the young kid to get into his own groove and to acclimate himself, I think, is to have a situation where he's brought into late in the season where there's like the minimal amount of pressure. But as far as, he's concerned, that's the case. Abdul Carter, like we keep hearing about his explosiveness, how he's going to help elevate this defense. That Giant defense this year is on paper expected to be special. So we're going to get a full look at that on Sunday. That's what I'm excited about. Brian Daboll was the coach of the year a couple seasons ago. Was that a fluke, or was that something that we can grow to expect him to be in that, in that realm? So as far as the defense, the coaching, what are you getting from Russell Wilson, who last 5 games of the season last year with the Steelers couldn't put up more than 17 points a game? I think those are the 3 phases that I'm focused on early in the year because, CP, man, it's a tough schedule, bro. You've got brutal. Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Chargers. Now, New Orleans in week 5, a little bit of a soft landing spot, but right after that, it's the Eagles. It's the Niners. Like, you got a bunch of tough games on this slate for the Giants, so it could get ugly early, or they could do something like shock the world. I don't mean shock the world like win the Super Bowl. Shock the world like get off to a 3-3 start. Like, is that too much to ask?
Yeah,
we'll see.
It's fair, man. It's certainly fair. I mean, if I can tackle those in a couple of instances, I was very impressed with Dart in the preseason. Not going to try to get too hyped over it, but he just seemed like he's got the moxie, he's got the poise, and Daboll is very much invested in him. And again, just because the bar was set so low with Daniel Jones, and not to kick him on the way out, but man, it just went from average to terrible over his stint. Just seeing some more life in a quarterback arm, that was good to see. And look, I'm with the Russell Wilson experiment. I want to see Wilson with Nabers and see what he does under Daboll's offense. I want to see what Russ could do with this team. He's going to take his lumps. He's going to fill that Kurt Warner mentor, caretaker role that he played with Eli. And then, we will eventually, once the schedule kind of humbles these guys and we put the blame on Russ, we'll see Dart start to come in because the pressure is going to mount for him to be in there. So I think that side of the house is going to be very interesting. Abdul Carter, I said it on my show a couple weeks ago, They didn't really unleash him that much in the preseason. He was limited in certain spots. So now I want to see what's up. I was kind of over all the antics and the talking and all the yapping and this, that, and the third, and give me LT's number. Now, I want to see, can you get a sack on your first day? Let's just start with the basics. Before you put yourself in the Hall of Fame, I want to see Abdul Carter get busy out there.
And it's funny you say that because early on, he's going to be licking his chops. He'll have his opportunity. Jaden Daniels chasing him around.
Yeah.
As you know, we saw Dak was phenomenal last night, chasing him around in week 2. Patrick Mahomes in week 3. Justin Herbert. So you're gonna face that litmus test early. You're gonna get an opportunity to see these young quarterbacks and some veterans in there where Abdul Carter can chase them. But that defensive line, man, scary. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. Kayvon, who is in a little bit of a tricky situation because of his fifth-year option situation. Does he get moved at the deadline? Is he a trade chip? But, you're going to see that early, man. And that is what is most – if you're a Giant fan, that's how you blueprint a season that you stumble upon more wins than expected. That defense is awesome, led by that line that is going to get after the quarterback, similar to what we saw in 2016. The offense – doesn't have to be, the greatest show on turf. Yeah. Can Russell Wilson, as he ushers in his age 37 season, can he just be a little bit better than average? Can he look a little bit more mobile than he did the last month and a half at the Steelers? And then, as I mentioned, Dable with his coaching. Like that 2022 year, no one expected that. Now, the schedule, we can compare schedules. This one is, night and day. But that's what the Giants need. And I actually, how about this, CP? I've said this for a month and a half. They're going to win on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win this game on Sunday.
Why not? Ain't no reason to be scared of the Commanders. No reason to be scared of them.
I think they're going to win Sunday. They've had Washington's number historically. Yeah. Should have beaten them 2 times last year. And it's the first game of the year where we know upsets happen all the time. Right. So the Bengals lose to the Patriots. That's why, for all the gamblers out there, you did the DraftKings read. It's the toughest week to bet because so many bizarre things happen. No one plays in the preseason. So I think they'll pull the upset in Washington this Sunday. Give me that. One
thing I don't like the receivers, man. I haven't liked this Giants receiving core in probably 5 years. I love Nabers. His ticky-tack injuries are bothering me. I like Wandell, what he can bring. I think the rest are terrible. I think Darius Slayton should have been going off this team for about the last 3 years. He'll give you one miraculous catch, and he'll drop several in the breadbasket. They don't have that big threat receiver, big target receiver. The Nabers is Mr. Everything, but they don't have that big target receiver. I'm just not enthusiastic about this receiving core, man. Your thoughts?
And Nabers is, I don't know if you saw this, showing up on the injury report. He's got a little bit of a back issue. But
first it was a toe, now it's the back.
Yeah.
Tricky.
But here's the thing. Nabers is so good. He can win you a game by himself.
Yes.
Quite literally win you a game by himself. I'm with you as far as, big picture. Do they have enough weapons to have a sustained, excellent, or dare I just say, better than average offense over a year? I don't think so. But that's where the running game is going to come into play. That's where you're going to see them trying to lean on that running game. And Russell Wilson is known for making those, big-time throws, like the air-it-out yards, which is what you didn't have last year. So, again, can they score 20 points? If the defense is as good as everyone says it's going to be, shouldn't it just take, 20-ish points, 21, 22, 23? That's the ballpark you got to be in.
There we go, man. Well, what's your schedule as it relates to this weekend on ESPN, man? How's your schedule looking?
All right, so I'm on TV tonight. I'm on SNY tonight after the Met game. ESPN Radio, I'll be on following Gary Myers. I'll be on 3 to 6 p.m. leading into the Met game. So we'll be covering it all. We'll talk some Jets. We'll talk some Giants. And I'm excited, man. Week 1 of the NFL season. Basketball right around the corner. In the midst of baseball. This is the busiest time of the year. So I'm excited, bro.
No question, man. What are you talking tonight on SNY? Baseball? More baseball?
Yeah, tonight I'll definitely recap the game. Big start for David Peterson and the Mets. And then they might throw another segment at me. We might go football. So we'll see. But definitely that A block will hit on baseball.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, man. Well, listen, man, this was your debut here on Knicks Fan TV. We're definitely going to spin the block, man, and make sure that you're back here as a regular over the course of football. Maybe we'll make this a regular Football Friday segment, man. Maybe we'll have to do that, man.
Yo, listen, I'm down, bro. I'm here, baby.
Yeah.
I'm here. Let's do it.
There we go. Let the people know where they can find you, too, man, on Twitter and social media.
Yo, hit me up on X, Ty D Butler, Instagram as well. We're getting that YouTube page popping. Ty D Butler, TYDBUTLER. So shout out to you guys for listening. I see y'all in the chat. That's why you keep seeing me looking down. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm a huge Yankees fan. Jets is my team. I know you're going to talk to Jake about that later.
Yep.
And then, of course, I saw somebody in the chat talking about the Lakers. But let's do it, man. Should be
yes,
a good
sir.
time.
There we go. Ty, enjoy the weekend, man. Pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely, bro. Holla at me.
All right. That was Ty Butler, ESPN's Ty Butler, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, one of the content, I'm giving you out a content, doubleheader episode of Knicks Fan TV Live today on this glorious, glorious Football Friday. Beautiful weather out here in New York. Hope everybody in the chat is doing well. And that you guys have good weekend plans. Vega, I see you. Appreciate it, man. Anthony D, Jets. Okay, so we know the team that he's rocking with. Junior Caroma, we know your team. Salute. Chris Shaw, Giants Commanders game will be heated. Yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. I'm hype. I'm always enthusiastic the first 3 weeks of the Giants season. No matter who they have and their expectations, I'm always just hyped to just get football underway and, rock with my team and look out for the unexpected win. I'm always here for that. I watch, pretty much all the Giants seasons, even when they're not expected to do much. So, shout out to my team. And yeah, I'll wait for the Dart era to start. But I am very enthusiastic about what's going to happen there. All right, so there that is. But listen, man, when it comes to Giants or Jets tickets and you're looking for a discount, use our code KFTV10 at SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app, and the official ticketing app of Knicks Fan TV is back for another season. Go to SeatGeek.com or use the SeatGeek app to get your tickets. And as I said, if you haven't used the code before, you can also use KFTV as the code and you'll get $20 off, or you could use KFTV10 to get 10% off your deal. All right. And as it relates to SeatGeek, make sure that when you're looking for the deals, look for the green dots. Green means great, amazing to good deals, and the red dots, you should probably stay away from those unless you're really desperate to get into the building. It's pretty easy layout, and quickly you can get your transaction done, man, with our guys at SeatGeek. So once again, the code is KFTV10. You could also try the code KFTV to get some savings, man. These ticket prices are going up through the roof. They're skyrocketing. Next season prices are coming out now, and yeah, they're looking pretty pricey as well. So make sure you use our code at SeatGeek. All right? If you guys want to call me up in the KFTV Discord, you're welcome to do so. If not, I'm going to get to the gym, man, get my workout on, get my weekend started. You got EuroBasket going on. Who saw Yabusele? Yabu went crazy the other day against, I think it was Poland. Did you guys see that? Let me pull that up, man. Yabusele went off. He's been cooking, man. Yabusele. Let me pull that up. 36 points. Where's my Yabusele joint at, man? 36 points to Yabusele against Poland. Listen, it was against Poland, I know, but even still, the guy's getting busy out there. Has anybody been watching Yabusele, man? Okay, yeah, here it is. Here's Yabusele.
You better get.
Let me get my Yabusele highlights up there. Hang tight. So to everybody in the chat once again, CP now on the solo dolo, but we had a great session just now talking Knicks with our guys Howard Beck and Ty Butler. Let me get these Yabusele highlights up here. And some of you guys can't watch EuroBasket because it's on I forgot the platform that it's on. I've been watching it on alternative broadcasting platforms. But here's Yabusele, man.
Madison Square Garden next season. You better get ready, Knicks fans. Yabusele. Now finds it in the paint.
Nice little roll into space and one. Get that out of there.
Rejection.
Is Yabusele. Oh, pull up, nephew. Let me get a jump shot for three. There he goes. Yabu pop out for three.
Yabusele fires another one.
Got him.
Now he's 2 out of 3. Let's keep it alive.
Here's Yabu. Oh, missed the alley, but he still got there, filling the lane nicely. Here's Yabu again. Oh, get that out of there. Gives him the Matumbo. Here's Yabu. Oh, follow that up. Put back slam. Yabu, here's another three. Hand down, man down. Nephew, let me get a jump shot. Cooking. Mid-range baseline. Got him.
Make it 20.
Is Yabu again. Corner three. Got him.
Yabusele and Jalen Hort.
And here's number 6. He went 6 for 6 from 3. Got him. Oh, that was number 5. Number 5. Here's Yabu again. Is this number 6?
Has been on fire.
Got him. All right. Here's a double. Nice pass. Nice pass out of the double. Good ball movement by France. And he comes back into the play for the tip in and one. Good hustle. Here's Yabu running the break. He starts the break. Gets it back to him. Good ball movement. That was a little, that was me on the play-by-play. But good stuff there by Yabusele, man. I'm very hyped. He's going to be an instant fan favorite at the Garden pretty soon. Yabusele, I mean, it's not going to take him much time for the Garden to be chanting, Yabu or Yabusele, Yabba Dabba Do, whatever they're going to do for him. But yeah, he's going to be he's going to be an instant fan favorite. I can't wait to see him at the Garden. And part of the bench upgrades with the Knicks, man. Part of the bench upgrades. What's very funny, not necessarily funny, but very interesting with his game is that with the Knicks, you have good corner 3 shooters in Bridges and in OG. But what you lost with Dante was an above the break 3 shooter. They kind of lost that when Devo left. And Yabusele, his numbers above the break are really good. I mean, I'm pulling it up right now. I'm about to pull it up for you guys to see. Hang tight. So it's everybody in the chat. We're going into research mode here. Okay, here we go. This is from Cleaning the Glass. His threes from above the break. I mean, from the corners, he's not all that great, 35%. But from the non-corners, he's 40%. 40% for Yabu from above the break. So the Knicks will be able to spread the ball around. And if you put him out there, I'd envision a 2-big lineup with him and Cat at the 5. I'm going to be very interested to see how that operates. Now, defensively, they're not going to stop anybody. But offensively, I think that'll be interesting to see Yabusele out there with Cat, maybe OG, Bridges, Brunson, or, whatever that combo looks like. You can go Brunson, Deuce, Mikal, Yabusele, Cat. There's a lot of different ways you can slice that up. But yeah, his 3-ball numbers are going to be interesting. And his pick and pop numbers are going to be very interesting to see how that works, man. But yeah, Yabu's doing the damn thing. And the quarterfinals for EuroBasket, I think, is starting in a couple of days. So France will wrap up against Georgia tomorrow, Saturday, and then they'll kick off the quarterfinals next week. So that's what Yabusele and France are up to. All right, so make sure you guys are tapping in on that. We talked about Melo and the Hall of Fame. We got all of that. Make sure I'm not missing anything here on the announcements. Make sure we capitalizing on everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it for the weekend wrap. Later on today, Alex and our guy Jake Asman will be recording their collab, talking Knicks and talking Jets. So Jets fans, Anthony D in the chat, we got you, man. We're going to drop that one tomorrow with Alex and Jake Asman. We'll be dropping that show tomorrow. So make sure you guys tap in there. All right, so that's part of our football, Knicks and New York football collaboration with our guys. So shout out to Ty Butler and shout out to the great Howard Beck. Remember that the show's available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Melo, Mike, I see you in here. Also, let me just turn this down. Speaking of Knicks games and Knicks tickets, we are going to drop our announcement about our group outing at Madison Square Garden. We're going to go to the Knicks versus Bucks game on Black Friday. That's November 28th. And that'll be Knicks Fan TV's group outing. Those of you that have come out with us in the past know how much fun it is. Part of your ticket price package, you'll get a welcome gift bag. That'll come with some merch. We'll get some food over at Clinton Hall 36, food and drinks over at Clinton Hall 36. The Garden will also be offering a perk. That might be pregame shoot-around. That might be free throws on the court. That might be a photo on the court. We'll get those details from them. And that'll all be the package. And, of course, we'll be sitting in the lower bowl premium seating to watch the Knicks take on Giannis and the Bucks in the NBA Cup. So look out for that announcement. We should have that ready to go by Monday. And make sure you guys get your tickets fast because it is limited seatings and limited opportunity. But, yeah, that is the word. And make sure that you guys are joining the newsletter so that you can be first to know when we drop announcements such as that. So make sure that you guys are headed over to KnicksFanTV.com. You click on newsletter, and you just drop your email right in there. Okay? Free. And, hey, along with the newsletter, along with joining the newsletter, you get access to some really good articles from our esteemed panel of writers. So just go over to KnicksFanTV.com, click on newsletter, and then just drop your email right there in the box. Okay, there it is. Did I see Chuck D's in the chat? Is Chuck in the chat? Peter Fury, I see you. Salute. The Rhyme Animal Chuck D is with us. Salute to Chuck, man. Absolutely. Stevie Nicks, I see you once again. Never forgive action. We got you. And yeah, that's that, man. Feeling good, feeling great. Bless up to everybody, man. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Alex and Jake Asman. See you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.